Good evening and many thanks indeed for joining us on the 15th of June 2020. We have a lot lined up for you in the next 1 hour on what is happening in the country, across the region and the world. In Kenya, we'll be telling you details on how COVID-19 found its way to State House. 4 State House officials have tested positive for COVID-19. We'll be giving you details surrounding that, and also we'll be giving you the picture when it comes to COVID-19 in the country. Are we getting more prepared in the several counties across the nation? We'll be giving you details of that and more, but first, let's take a look at stories making headlines tonight. COVID-19 gets to State House as 4 State House officials test positive. CS Cargo tours Nyandarua County as 133 new virus cases are reported. Capacity building now turns out to be a great intervention in fighting COVID-19. CJ Maraga meets with the Senate leadership of executive and judiciary loggerheads. Welcome to our live broadcast. My name is Irene Mwangi, and with me tonight is Moses Gitonga, who is our sign language interpreter. To our top story, the country has recorded an additional 133 new coronavirus infections, with the Ministry of Health announcing 1 more death. The number of infections continues to rise, while the Ministry of Health insists that the county government have upgraded their level of preparedness to curb the spread of the virus. As Chris Sambo also reports, the Ministry of Health has embarked on county health tours in a bid to strengthen the prevention measures in the county levels.
The Ministry of Health has continued to emphasize that all counties must bear the burden of the surging number of coronavirus infections in the country. The spreading curve in the country increasing rapidly to a number of counties. The ministry is now concerned on the level of prevention measures undertaken. On Monday, 133 more people have tested positive of COVID-19 after a test on 3,365 samples in the last 24 hours, with the total number of infections in the country now at 3,727. The Ministry of Health has tested a total number of 118,701 samples.
Na ukiangalia hata sokoni vile tunataka kuendelea mbele, hata COVID ikiisha, kuendelea mbele, mambo ya prevention, mambo ya hygiene, ndio tunataka sana kuendelea na hayo. Kwa hivyo kama ni sokoni, ni lazima watu wanafanya sanitizing, ni lazima watu wanaosha mikono.
While in a maiden health tour in Nyandarua County, Health Cabinet Secretary Mutai Kagwe has confirmed that 3 more patients that have recovered, with the number of recoveries now at 1,286. However, concerns are rising on the said government home-based care regarding the asymptomatic COVID-19 patients.
Upon discharge from quarantine, there is a requirement, or there used to be a requirement, that you are tested again. Again, we are in the process of reviewing our testing strategies, and WHO also is recommending that if you are asymptomatic at day 14 of follow-up, that second test may not be necessary. But you are again in the process of reviewing this with our case management experts, so that you don't want to say that you don't want to go through a second test, but this will be confirmed in due course.
The infection curve is daily proving to be relentless, with the government insisting that all counties will have to share the COVID-19 burden, despite a number of counties lacking adequate resources.
But the most important work for both the county governments and the national government is to educate our people and to tell our people that this disease is owned by each one of us, because it is at the individual level that we will be able to protect ourselves.
The Ministry of Health says even with the surging number of COVID-19 infections, adherence to the set prevention measures is the only weapon in tackling the novel coronavirus pandemic in the country. Chris Sambu, Kutv, Nairobi.
Thank you, Chris Sambo, for that particular report. Still on the pandemic, 4 State House officials have tested positive for coronavirus. State House spokesperson Kanze Dennis said the identities of the 4 will remain concealed as they seek treatment at the Kenyatta University Teaching Referral Hospital in Kiambu County. President Uhuru Kenyatta and all the members of the first family are safe. It is evident that coronavirus knows no borders and boundaries. This being clear after the deadly virus found its way to State House through revelations made today by State House spokesperson Kanze Dennis. 4 State House officials tested positive for coronavirus, with their families and close contacts being monitored. They tested positive for COVID-19 following a screening conducted last week. State House spokesperson Kanze Dennis said the identities of the 4 will remain concealed as they seek treatment at the Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital in Kiambu County, with public health officials having begun monitoring families of the affected families. She, however, assured that President Uhuru Kenyatta and all members of the first family are safe. Even with the guidelines of staying at home and maintaining social distance, the State House has been abuzz with activities in the recent days. The activities have ranged from government and political engagement by the president, where huge crowds are often hosted. It includes parliamentary group meetings for the Jubilee Party and the recent national and county government summit, where more than 100 leaders were hosted. In a statement, Dennis said access protocols for State House staff residing outside of the compound and visitors had been rolled out to contain the spread. Kenyans now are being urged to fully adhere to the COVID-19 containment protocols as set out by the Ministry of Health. Irene Mwangi, Kutv. Elsewhere, Orange Democratic Movement leader Raila Odinga has tested negative for coronavirus. Odinga displayed his COVID-19 free certificate at the Kenya Medical Research Institute, KEMRI, where he was tested on Sunday. The African Union High Representative for Infrastructure on Sunday took the COVID-19 test at KEMRI in Mbagathi. He also took the opportunity to appeal to all Kenyans to undergo the test. Let us take you to the counties where, after recently recording a positive COVID-19 case from a truck driver coming from Naivasha as he headed home to Suswa, Narok County, is taking no chances and has put in mandatory mass testing measures at all its 7 border points. This and more in our county news wrap.
Narok County has joined the fold of counties with novel coronavirus infections, with county health officials now embarking on a mandatory mass testing exercise for those accessing the county via the Mai Mahiu Narok Highway after a truck driver tested positive 2 days ago. Truck drivers are at a higher risk of contracting and transmitting the virus, which has been associated with their migratory labor patterns and transportation routes.
Mimi ni mkaaji wa Sirare na ninatoka pande ya Kisii. Hii kazi tumepata msiba hii ya corona. Ile kitu inaelimisha watu wasiseme hii kitu ni mbaya. Watu kila mtu apimwe. Unaona hata mimi niko na certificate yangu nimepimwa, ni inaniruhusu kwa kupita kwa barabara. Hata tuwezi patia askari kazi ngumu, tunawarahisishia kazi na wanaona ukweli hii kitu lazima tupimwe. Kwa hivyo madereva wenzangu wote wa maroli, mtu asiogope kupimwa, apimwe na madaktari wanajua. Kwa hivyo hakuna daktari mwenye anaweza turumu mtu vibaya, na yeye hiyo ni kazi yake professional ya kupima mtu. Kwa hivyo akikuwekea ile kitu kwa mafua na kwa mdomo, anajua ni nini anafanya. Kenya naomba madereva wa maroli tafadhali, kila mtu apimwe ndio tujue.
Kwenye klabu pale, kwenye soko, watu wakae social distancing kiasi, na hapa Suswa tunajaribu kufanya hivyo kabisa.
Narok County borders Nakuru, Bomet, Migori, Kisii, Nyamira, Kajiado counties, with one side bordering Tanzania. In all these border points, the county has put health officials to monitor and curb the spread of the virus.
hii corona aishi, anaweza kukaa kama ugonjwa ingine. Sikubali ugonjwa ashindane na sisi wananchi, subugua amesimamia wa dunia mzima, lakini inaomba siharibu uchumi yetu wa Kenya. Vile yeye nafikiria, hata sisi nafikiria vile yeye amesema. Tayari corona naona nasambaa kila kaunti. Sisi wananchi tuchukue maanani, tuchuchunge kama mtu nashunga mwili yake.
Ukiingia hii town bado watu wanakusanyika. Ati ni nani? Kuna haja gani upate information uende ujiletee ugonjwa? Tunaomba watu wetu wakae mbali, wa observe directions ya serikali, wafae mask, maana mumeanza kuacha hata kusalimiana. Hii maneno ya kuna ndugu.
Elsewhere in the Coast Region, Area Commissioner John Elungata has urged Mombasa, Kwale, Kilifi, Taita Taveta, Lamu and Tana River residents to adapt to the new norm and faithfully observe the COVID-19 precautionary measures to mitigate its spread.
In Kilifi and Kwale, and we want to thank the people there for their discipline. During the restriction of movement, they were able to observe the rules that government had put in place, respected the roadblocks, respected the curfew, social distancing rules, and that's why infections in those two counties have been minimal. Mombasa, because of the extension, will also be able to come to that point where the infections will plateau and drop.
A recent study among 3,805 truckers in Kenya found that truckers can be a conduit for spreading viruses across partner types as well as across national and international borders. Grace Josephine, Kutv, Nairobi.
Thank you, Grace Josephine, for that particular report. Let us update you more on the pandemic, where Kenyans have been urged to eat healthy and engage in physical exercises to be able to defeat COVID-19. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe says people with a higher level of immunity have proved to have a speedy recovery rate.
It is important to consume nutritious and safe food during the current COVID-19 pandemic in order to strengthen the body immune system to not only fight infections, but also speed up recovery when one has got the infection. The Ministry of Health is committed to attaining health and nutrition agenda through the Health Policy 2014-2030. Currently, the ministry is implementing the universal health coverage. A lot of emphasis is being placed on strengthening the primary health care as it provides the engine for UHC.
That story creates a basis for our word of the day tonight, which is the word nutrition. It is the process of nourishing or being nourished, especially the process by which a living organism assimilates food and uses it for growth and for replacement of tissues. The science or study that deals with food and nourishment, especially in humans. Example in a sentence: poor nutrition weakens the immune system and can jeopardize the body's ability to fight a COVID-19 infection. Moving on, the building capacity in the wake of COVID-19 will play a big role in winning the war against the novel coronavirus. It is for this reason that a government delegation toured Nyandarua County to check on its level of preparedness. Nyandarua is among 9 counties yet to record a case, with the residents urged to continue adhering to the set measures.
On Monday morning, a government delegation led by Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe toured Nyandarua County to inspect its level of preparedness in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. It is here that he would take the opportunity to update the nation on the status of coronavirus. Nyandarua is the 5th county to receive the government delegation after previous visits to Kajiado, Machakos, Kiambu, and Nyeri counties. 38 counties have already recorded at least a case of COVID-19, with Nairobi and Mombasa carrying the disease burden. As of now, Nyandarua has not recorded a case of coronavirus, a situation attributed to proper adherence to set containment measures.
And I'm very happy to note that this is one county where I travel and you are using masks.
Residents, though, have been urged not to let their guard down, lest they invite the wrath of the unforgiving invisible enemy.
However, this does not mean that the people of Nyandarua are immune from contracting the virus. Far, far from it. I want to urge the county government and the people of Nyandarua to jealously protect this status that you have.
I want to assure you, Waziri, that we will work together. There are many things I've not read in this statement. I'll share it with you. Again, we want to assure you that Nyandarua stands with you and the President in the fight against COVID. As we reopen the economy, we'll look at the pros and cons. Where we think is risky, I think also the county-specific initiatives will be put in place so that we can all move as a country and save our people and secure our institutions. But also,
the JM Karaoke Hospital is the main health facility in the county. However, if confessions by Governor Francis Kimemia are anything to go by, then more work needs to be done to elevate its status. Presently, Nyandarua has 310 isolation bed capacity to tame the virus. Inadequate healthcare workers, lack of equipment, and overcrowding are just but a few of the challenges dogging the county.
The donations have been coming, and as I've appealed to you for medical supplies, our diabetics have a problem of accessing drugs. The country can spend so much. If you can be able to help us in diabetics, cancer patients, the handicapped people with some of the equipments, are put in 20 million shillings, but this is not enough. And we want to add more. Most of the monies, out of the 240 million, most of the monies are going to preventive services.
Over the weekend, Isiolo County was in the limelight for all the wrong reasons, with Governor Mohamed Kutv accused of playing PR with the pandemic. The county allegedly hired ICU beds from a private health facility and paraded them to fake its level of preparedness. To show its seriousness, Nyandarua has been taking other measures to ensure they keep the disease at bay, including fumigating public places. This was said as the county recorded 133 new infections, bringing the total tally to 3,727. Florence Ndongo, KUTV News.
Thank you, Florence Ndongo, for that report. That story by Florence Ndongo gives us a chance to take a short break, but once we return, we'll be giving you more, including the tussle between the judiciary and the executive. Is there an amicable solution to what is going on between the two arms of the government? We'll be telling you that on the other side of the break. See you soon.
I'm the CEO, founder of Dhika Kitchen Enterprises. We are based in Dhika. We deal in energy saving jikos and other gas related or energy saving jikos.
There is nothing as sad as losing a child to an unexplained death. And today on Focus on Health, we'll be talking on sudden infant death syndrome.
This is death that is usually unexplainable, unpredictable in infants that are from 1 month to 1 year older, and they have no defined cause. And this is usually found after thorough checking the scene where the death occurred.
We are hearing on news every now and then about couples killing each other.
Sam, I do not care. Don't talk about my tone. What We need to do a lot of marketing as filmmakers. It is tough, but we will have to.
That joy of being a mother, you can imagine. You start waking me up in the middle of the night.
Welcome back. Chief Justice David Maraga today had a meeting with the leadership of the Senate, with the details about the meeting remaining scanty. Questions have been raised on the timing of the meeting between the two levels of government, as it comes at a time when the executive and the judiciary are at loggerheads. Chief Justice David Maraga is evidently not a happy man, at least judging from his recent political statements and his statements on his social media account. In his Twitter account, the judiciary boss has lamented that elements are out to attack the judicial independence at whatever cost. This comes even as right activist Okiya Omtata having asked the Judicial Service Commission to remove Chief Justice David Maraga from office for alleged gross misconduct. Omtata, who filed the petition Wednesday last week, is unhappy with Justice Maraga's intervention in a case he had filed over the filling of a vacancy in the office of the Auditor General. Today, the Chief Justice had a meeting with the leadership of the Senate, led by Majority Leader Samuel Pogishio. What the leadership of the two independent arm of government discussed still remains scanty, but the timing of the meeting is what has raised eyebrows.
And so we didn't have much. It was basically a visit as a courtesy call. And we just discussed broad issues of the improvements that are happening here in the judiciary, the work of the broadening and expansion, and trying to make sure that we can help in whichever way we want to help. We can help as the legislature, as the Senate. The other way is also true, that we need to understand how we collaborate in certain areas.
It is assumed that the Senate might bring the wide rift between the judiciary and the executive, even though Majority Leader in the Senate has since denied that. Although Chief Justice Maraga is facing a possible ouster, that is just but a tip in the iceberg, as the bad blood between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Justice David Maraga can be traced to the disputed 2017 presidential elections.
To address the President personally, Your Excellency, you know I have respect for you as our President, and I have told you that. You also know that I have, for a long time now, unsuccessfully sought an appointment to discuss this issue with you, leaving me with no option but to raise the matter through this public statement.
The strained relationship between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Chief Justice David Maraga continues unabated as the dispute over appointment of 41 judges. This comes even as the court session resumed today. The executive has, however, turned the heat on the head of the judiciary, accusing him of seeking public sympathy to hide his failures and mismanagement of the judiciary. Irene Mwangi, Kutv. Ongoing works in Naivasha in a bid to give roads a facelift might be halted after residents vowed to take the street if the contractor demolishes more houses. Residents say they obtained the houses legally through the former Naivasha Municipal Council after paying all the required fees.
The ongoing rehabilitation of roads in 3 informal settlements in Naivasha under the World Bank program hangs in the balance due to opposition from area residents. This follows the move by the contractor involved to demolish houses along the road reserve, despite the owners having legal documents from the former Naivasha Municipal Council. The residents have vowed that no more houses will be brought down, even as experts question the quality of the ongoing works. For the last couple of weeks, several houses inside Kabati and County Council estates have been demolished for encroaching on road reserve. Margaret Wamboi says she has lost property worth thousands of shillings after a section of her house was demolished. Wamboi says she legally obtained the house through the former Naivasha Municipal Council after paying all the required fees.
Ati ni barabara, ati barabara ijengwe yeko lami. Tunashindwa ati barabara sasa tukikufa. Barabara itakuwa ikipitiwa na watu gani? Ati barabara ijengwe na barabara ilikuwa imepimwa, ikapimwa pande na pande na ikawekwa maki. Kustukia tukaambiwa tukaona wengine wanapindua geti hivi na sisi tunasogezwa mita 4. Sasa sisi tukazidwa tuko wapi? Sisi ni watu nani tutasaidia sisi?
Walipokuja ipeana notice za 21 days lakini wakupeana side zote mbili. Walishukia tu na side moja. Sasa ndio tulikuwa tunauliza kwani kunaendaje wanadai tu na side moja. Na hii county tu ndio ilipeana hiyo barua plot ikajengwa. Sasa sisi tumekosa mtu wa kuuliza venye itakuwa. Sina baki tu tunyamaze hivyo.
Ni wapi barabara iliondokea nyumba? Ever. Tujue. Na hii mambo imekuwa ikizunguka hapa Naivasha. Ukienda Kehoto ndio ilifanyika. Ukienda Kajo, isipokuwa tulienda Kajo na tukaenda tukareta na tukapiga picha nyumba zenye zilikuwa zimeondokewa na rami. Hata hii inagojewa ndio ifike hapa.
The victims say they had not been served with notice by the contractor. The problem, according to Suleiman Katana, was poor planning by the former Naivasha Municipal Council and lack of a digital plan. Speaking earlier, Viwandani MCA Eric Yeshuki defended the county and the contractor, noting that all those affected had been served with notices.
Already, as we speak, sahizi tumewapatia notice kwa mara ingine kwa sababu construction iko just mahali ambapo wamejenga nyumba zao. Watu wamekuwa kijua hiki tu. Na watu wamekuwa kiona barabara inakuja for a very long time. Unfortunately, watu wengi sana waliamua kudefault.
Florence Ndongo, Kutv News.
Away from that, the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, IEC, has called on members of the public to ensure that they use the services of professionals for quality service during constructions. This follows the collapse of a 3-story apartment in Kericho town some days ago, which caused 1 death, injuries and 2 cars destroyed, including other properties. The initial investigation have been attributed to structural mistakes by the engineers who constructed the building. The Institution of Engineers of Kenya, Kericho branch chairman Wesley Kerich, said they will issue comprehensive statement after the investigations are completed. He was speaking during the launch of IEC Kericho chapter.
You realize we've been for a very long time, this particular IEC has been domiciled maybe in the national office, the sub-branch offices, but we want to come down as close as possible to where operations are. So this is one among the many initiatives that we are taking as IEC to ensure that we devolve our services to each and every county. So Kericho is one of among the many sub-branches within the Central Rift branch. We have got, of course, the national branch, and then now the Central Rift branch. Of course, we have got the Coast branch, we have got the Mount Kenya branch, and we have got the Western branch.
We are taking a short break, but once we return, we'll be telling you more on what is happening in the region and across the world. Of course, giving you a picture when it comes to COVID-19, what is happening in different nations across the world. See you on the other side of the break.
I think I'm finding it difficult to trust men.
Kwa unaona mtaani watu wanapigana, unaja gani mimi nikayala.
If there is love, there can be domestic violence.
There's no good reason to end your life. There's nothing beyond which a human being cannot handle, I think, that comes through our lives.
Today we'll be talking about domestic violence and the influence or the impact it has on suicide.
The Juakari operators and others, our saloonists, Mama Mboga, our barbers, Our economy to a large extent depends on you. We cannot allow Kenyans to die because of non-distancing in any sector. So those of you who are carrying out the hair-cutting business, in barbershops, in saloons, I am appealing to you today. Ensure that social distancing, fumigation of your working places, masks are used at all times. Just assume that everybody is positive and now deal with that situation. Participation of our citizens in the fight against the disease would be our key success factor.
Welcome back. Now let us update you on what is happening in the continent. Cameroon is one of the African countries worst hit by the COVID-19 pandemic and has been struggling against misinformation and fake news on the virus. Cameroon's digital first respondents have taken to the social media to counteract the misinformation. Moki Edwin Kindeska narrates this report by Anna Nzonkeu from Yaoundé.
The COVID-19 pandemic has flooded Cameroon's health workers with questions about the virus and about false rumors that hospitals are overwhelmed and that testing is either not available or costly. The director of Cameroon's National Social Insurance Fund Hospital, Dr. Anne Jomland, took to Twitter to counteract the fake news and remind the public that testing is free and where to get it.
I think it's a channel for information. When you have a lot of followers, the effect of the tweet can go a long way. I must say, it helps the community.
The United Nations in May launched Verified, a plan to promote digital first responders like Dr. Len to fight misinformation on the coronavirus. In Cameroon, ICT Media Strategies created Smart Click Africa and COVID-19.cm to remind the public to check news sources on the virus.
The first question to ask is who posts the information. That is to say, is the person posting the information a resource person? This implies that you have to go to his profile to find out if he is a doctor. If the person usually posts verified and verifiable information.
The editor of Cameroon's Mosaics newspaper, Parfait Tabapsi, says the counter-disinformation efforts are helping, especially when experts like Dr. Land are involved.
Le professeur en question est déjà professeur de médecine, ce qui est déjà quelque chose de très important.
That professor is, first of all, a professor of medicine, which is something very important. Then she is responsible for a hospital unit in Cameroon, in Yaoundé. These are the two reasons why you need some information. You have to go see that side.
Dr. Land, who is also the president of the Cameroon Society of Pediatrics, plans to expand her role as a digital first responder to debunk disinformation on maternal and child health.
Away from the continent, a deadly police shooting in Atlanta, Georgia has further fueled unrest and demonstration against racism and police brutality. As VOA's Kane Farabao reports, the call for bipartisan legislation addressing police reform nationwide grows as protests across the country and the world continue.
On Friday night, Atlanta police officers approached 27-year-old Richard Brooks, who appeared to be asleep behind the wheel of his car while waiting in line at a fast food restaurant drive-thru. When officers tried to detain Brooks, he resisted arrest, leading to a scuffle. In the moments that followed, recorded in a series of police body cameras, restaurant surveillance footage, and bystander cell phone videos, Brooks appears to use one of the officers' tasers as he flees. The incident ends when one of the officers opens fire, leading to Brooks's death.
While there may be debate as to whether this was an appropriate use of deadly force, I firmly believe that there is a clear distinction between what you can do and what you should do. I do not believe that this was a justified use of deadly force and have called for the immediate termination of the officer.
A day later, the officer who pulled the trigger was fired. The Atlanta police chief resigned, and the fast food restaurant where the incident occurred was engulfed in flames as anger over Brooks's death led to unrest on the streets of Atlanta, in a country already on edge in the wake of previous deadly police encounters.
We need reformation of how police officers do their jobs, how law enforcement does its job. Because what happened yesterday to Rayshard Brooks was a function of excessive force, and the decision that the fact that they were either embarrassed or panicked led them to murder a man who they knew only had a taser in his hand.
There has been a disconnect with what our expectations are and should be as it relates to interactions with our officers and the communities in which they are entrusted to protect.
It's a disconnect lawmakers in Washington are increasingly under pressure to resolve with bipartisan legislation that addresses police reform, especially in the wake of the recent death of George Floyd in police custody in Minneapolis. Republican Senator James Lankford from Oklahoma says he would support a ban on police use of chokeholds.
There's been a long-standing principle out there that is not needed for that situation, and there's been a consensus document that was done in 2017 by law enforcement around the country to say that is not needed. So I think that's not an issue for us.
Former New Jersey governor and Republican candidate for president in 2016, Chris Christie, points to successes in police reform in the city of Camden, New Jersey, as an example for other communities to follow.
We got police officers out of their cars, onto bicycles, on foot, and embedded them in the community, both from a law enforcement perspective and socially, George, working with the communities and working with young men and women in the communities to develop trust. Second was de-escalation training. And the watchword for the de-escalation training is first do no harm, and that violence is a last resort.
While lawmakers in Washington seek to find common ground on legislation, some states have already passed sweeping police reforms in response to the protests that have dominated headlines across most American cities over the last several weeks.
The issue quickly made its way to the courts, and a Richmond judge has temporarily barred the state from taking down the statue on Monument Avenue. Lecelia Bartlett has the story, narrated by Anna Rice.
This is how June started in Richmond, Virginia. Thousands of protesters gathered on Monument Avenue in downtown to express their opposition to a group of controversial statues of Confederate leaders that have stood in the city center for over a century. The police used tear gas to disperse the protesters, but later apologized for these actions. Just days later, Virginia's Governor Ralph Northam announced plans to remove the statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee, commander of the Confederate States Army during the American Civil War.
So I am directing the Department of General Services to remove the statue of Robert E. Lee as soon as possible. It will go into storage, and we will work with the community to determine its future. I know some will protest. Some will say Lee was an honorable man. I know many people will be angry. But my friends, I believe in a Virginia that studies its past in an honest way.
It was a Richmond councilman, Michael Jones, who started advocating for the removal of Confederate statues from the Monument Avenue in 2017. He insisted that having statues glorifying the people who supported slave owners during the Civil War are offensive to the Black American population.
My father grew up in this city. My mother grew up in this city. And so do my grandparents. I'm glad that they're coming down.
However, not everyone agrees with the governor's decision. Confederate heritage groups believe the statue should remain where it's been for over a century. And Virginia State Senator Amanda Chase created an online petition saying the General Lee statue should be saved, as well as other Confederate statues in Richmond. Chase says there's no denying these people supported slavery, but she insists they can't be defined by that alone.
You know, I've spoken advocately against erasing Virginia's history
This does not belong to Mayor Stoney. It belongs to all Virginians. It is our history. Let's be honest here. There is an overt effort here to erase all white history. I mean, that's what they're looking at doing.
The American Historical Association in part agree with the senator, yet they add, while it's important to know various historical figures, not all of them need to be respected.
You can preserve your history in many different ways, but that doesn't mean you have to honor somebody. The problem is that where that statue exists now and the function of that statue, it's not just that it's saying this is part of history. It's saying we honor this man. And the point of moving it to some other place is to say, no, we do not honor a man whose main accomplishment in life was to commit treason on behalf of the right of some people to own other people.
Historians add some controversial monuments might be at home in a museum. This will both remove them from the center of the city and save from vandalism, something Richmond statues have experienced firsthand many times.
Off public space and you put them in a museum, I think it saves the city a lot of money. It costs a lot of money not only to maintain those monuments, but then to clean them up once they've been vandalized. So it, in some ways, I think gives us an opportunity to keep them around, tell a story, and save money all at once.
But the Monument Avenue Preservation Group has a different opinion on the matter. They believe monuments are an inherent part of the city's history and they cannot be removed. The General Lee Monument belongs to the state, so the governor is authorized to make the decision about its removal. On June 9th, a Richmond judge temporarily blocked Governor Northam from removing the statue. But the state appears to be preparing to move forward with the removal plans after the 10-day injunction is up. The future of the other statues will be decided by the city council.
Moving on, Suleiman Abu Namuz is a 110-year-old Palestinian who has been living in different refugee camps since 1948. Currently settled in Jabalia camp in northern Gaza Strip, Abu Namuz fears he could lose his shelter home due to the fund cuts by the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for the Palestinian refugees.
This Palestinian man, who says he is more than a century old, has survived historical events such as Ottoman rule, the British Mandate, and the 1948 war between the Arab countries, and then the new state of Israel. Suleiman Abu Namuz fled his hometown during the 1948 war and since has been living in refugee camps throughout the region since then.
My name is Salim Suleiman Abu Namuz, from the town of Atiha in the Beersheba sub-district. I'm 110 years old because I witnessed the Turkish-British war when I was 12 years old.
After years of living under tents, Abu Namuz now resides in Gaza's Jabalia camp, in a tin-roofed house provided by the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian refugees. He says the house is better than a tent, but it still does not feel like home.
Here, it's not like when you live in your property. You feel that you're staying for a while, and you will leave the place someday.
Like many other Palestinian refugees, Abu Namuz depends on the UN aid agency for his basic needs. That aid source has been flattening since September 2018. However, when the U.S. ended its funds for the agency, the U.S. then said the agency was irredeemably flawed.
I am angry because the agency stopped our food packages. My family and I do not have any chance to live. I have not found my medicine in the healthcare center, and the doctors told me that I should buy the medicine from the pharmacy, but I do not have money to buy any.
Nearly 5 million refugees in the Gaza have been suffering for years from poverty and unemployment due to the conflict between Israel and the Islamist group Hamas. The UN, through its aid programs, offers them essential services, including health care and schooling.
We are taking a short break, but once we return, we'll be telling you what is happening in the world of sports. Do stay with us.
There is nothing as sad as losing a child to an unexplained death. And today on Focus on Health, we'll be talking on sudden infant death syndrome.
This is death that is usually unexplainable, unpredictable in infants that are from 1 month to 1 year old, and they have no defined cause. And this is usually found after thorough checking the scene where the death occurred.
Lola is an app that gives you a chance to watch videos, listen to audios, and read articles wherever you are for free. Motivational stories, dramas, campus life, technology, lifestyle, adventure, sports, academics, jobs, entertainment, and more. Download Lola now on Play Store. All you need, you got Lola.
APRT Sacco is financially transforming Africa.
Welcome to APRT Sacco. At APRT Sacco, we offer job opportunities, internship, training, attachments to graduates from various colleges and universities. We enable Kenyans to earn a living as we financially transform Africa together.
Are you a member of APRT Sacco who wants to buy a car, land, house, expand your business, or even pay school fees? Talk to us. To join APRT Sacco, buy shares for as little as 100 shillings and get your share certificate when your shares amount to 5,000 shillings. Join APRT Sacco through M-Pesa by sending money to till number 666741. APRT Sacco. Enjoy the power of many.
Kwa mara ya kwanza katika runinga nchini Jumatatu hadi Ijumaa saa 2:15 hadi saa 4:15 asubuhi. Msururu wa masomo kwa wanafunzi wa darasa la 8 na kidato cha 4 utakujia mubashara, ukiletewa na waandalizi wa KCPE na KCSE. Elimu Live ni kipindi kinachojaza mianya kwenye mchakato wa elimu baada ya kulipuka kwa virusi vya korona duniani. Maelezo nyerezi na kenye yanayofungamana na mahitaji ya mtaala wa elimu yatakufikia sebuleni kupitia runinga yako, tarakilishi na hata kwenye simu kiganjani. Kila Jumatatu hadi Ijumaa saa 2:15 hadi saa 4:15 asubuhi ni wakati wa Elimu Live.
Welcome back. In the world of sports, 17 times Kenya Premier League Championship Gor Mahia will represent the country in the CAF Champions League season for 2020-2021. This was confirmed by the Continental Football Governing Body, released a short list of clubs already qualified for its 2 flagship competition, with Gor Mahia highlighted as the Kenya representative. The development comes at a time when the fate of the league is set to be decided, with the Kenya Premier League, the body mandated to run the top-flight league in the country, moved to the Sports Dispute Tribunal to oppose Kenya Football Federation move to bring the league to a halt, announcing Gor Mahia as the championships. 8 KPL clubs, including Tusker FC, have supported the federation move. In international sports, Manchester United has erected a temporary pop-up dressing room area for visiting sides at Old Trafford. Players from the West Bromwich Albion were able to test out facilities last Friday prior to their 2 friendlies against United. In accordance to Premier League protocols, an area has been allocated at the top of the tunnel entrance near to the car park where visiting team coaches arrive. The space accommodates 2 big changing rooms to allow for social distancing and has been kitted out with showers and an office area for the opposing manager and his staff. There is then an exit into the tunnel area that leads out onto the pitch. That's all we had for you for KTV News at 9. Thank you for keeping us company. See you tomorrow, same time, same place. I've been your anchor, Irene Mwangi, and our sign language interpreter is Moses Gitonga. Keep looking up. That is the way to start a great life, is what one man by the name Charlie Brown once said. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay positive. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
It is